Hello everybody, my name is Takriva and this is Europa Universalis III. Next month, the release of Europa Universalis IV is happening. I'm really looking forward to that game coming out, as maybe a bit less than Civilization V Brave New World, maybe a bit more, but it's just because it's on a whole different scale. I mean, as you can see, here's the map of where you will be playing, and it's the actual world, but of course it goes all the way around and there are nations everywhere. Anyway, before going straight into 4, the fourth installment, I wanted to do a quick, short let's play of part 3, where I pick a nation, probably England or France, either one of these two, as they are the behemoth of their time and of the future, because the year is 1399 and there's turmoil everywhere. The 100 Years' War rages on in the west. The conqueror Timur the Lame strikes fear in the east. That would be from the Timurids, obviously. The Byzantine Empire clings onto just a few enclaves. Glory is there for those who can seize the opportunity. What Europa Universalis III, or just EU3, is a grand strategy game. It's not turn-based, but it's real-time. It's sort of like Total War, but it has a lot more of the map component and nothing of the actual battle components to it. Now, let's just start at France, because they're probably the easiest. They're probably the easiest nation to play anyway. They have the strongest military. Well, they have a 5-star military, 5-star economy, and a 5-star diplomacy. And if you compare to Castile, they have less diplomacy. England has less economy, and they are not at war at this moment. And so, Aragon is even worse. Basically, Castile and Aragon are what will become Spain at one point through a royal marriage. But we will start our game as France, and we'll see how incredibly a lot there is to do it. So, the first thing we get is a quest, and our mission is to... Okay, so what we have to do is annex Orléans. It's a nation within our vassalage border, because France has a lot of vassals to start off with in 1399. Now what I just did is change the map from the regular terrain map mode, where you can see what type of terrain every area is, to the political map mode, which is what you usually play this game on. But there's also religious map mode, and yellow is Catholicism, green is Sunni Muslim, and we cannot see it right now, but to the right is a lighter green, which is Shiite Muslim. Then there is the brown, which is Orthodox. Then this brown is Shamanist. It's nothing really. And here's actually the reddish is Animist, and it's different types of religion everywhere. And this basically, at one point, the Reformation will start, and half of Europe will become Protestant or Reformed. And you have to work with that as well and fight it off or embrace it. And there's a lot of depth to this game. And then there's the Imperial map mode for the Holy Roman Empire that still exists. And there are lots and lots of map types. And depending on what you're trying to do, they can become useful. But for the most part of the game, you will be in this map mode, the political map mode, where you can actually see what is going on and what your country looks like. And France looks like a piece of a puzzle. This is France and this is France, and that's it. But the thing is, Alençon is a vassal of ours, so it's sort of our country, but not really. Same with Orléans, Berry, Bourbon, Auvergne, and Armagnac as well. And basically, Avignon is one of the few that isn't, but they're like a bishopry, so this is ruled by archbishopric or whatever. So There's so much to say here, but I'm not in the Holy Roman Empire, so that whole type of gameplay just falls out the window. And of course, there are differences that will come into play once we actually get to the fourth installment of the game. And it's basically the flagship of Paradox Interactive. They have a few more of these sort of games that span a different time period and have a different type of mechanic as well. Now, the first thing you see is that the most of the map, most of the screen is quite open, and you see most of the map on it. And if we click here on the top left button, which is always the flag or the sign of your country, and you will see that we are at 1 prestige, and prestige is basically how well we are doing in the world, and it makes us the 50th among nations. Here's our relations, and this is just the first tab of the overview tab, I think it is, and here's all things concerning oh, excuse me, all things concerning France. And here you can see the court, and this is us. We are King Charles VI of the Valois family, and there are all the my family members. They're either brothers or cousins. They are also ruling other nations in the world, and you can see them in the left screen here. And at this moment, we do not have a son or a daughter, so we do not have a heir. But I think because we're probably not accepting female heirs anyway. I'm not actually sure how that works in EU3. Never actually encountered one, if in my short recollection. And here we have our members of the court, and they help us with stuff. So Pierre Dailly gives us a bigger investment into tech research, and specifically the production 3. Okay, we are definitely getting Jean-Baptiste Drieux because he is giving us plus 18 government tech investment, and he costs 0.6 ducats per month. So here's our ducats, it's the gold we have, and he will cost us 18 upfront to hire. But we will definitely get him because more research is extremely good, especially government research, because that will allow you to get ideas. Now, a lot of these things you can almost instantly forget when EU4 comes around, because tech will work different, the great man of the court will work different, but the most basic things are still there. You have manpower, which is basically your reserves of the army, and you can get these once your troops are decaying, and we have on the map 11,000 soldiers here. It's the army of Flanders for some reason, and once if there are less than 11,000, they will automatically be given people from your manpower pool. And here's our another 1,000, the Royal Army. It's only 1,000, I don't know why. But yeah, so that's our manpower. Then you have stability, which is quite important, and the first thing you always try to do is get to +3 stability in EU3. Yeah, that again changes drastically in the new one. You also want to keep your treasury mostly at 0, because you will get inflation, and if you mint your own money, and minting your money means that you cannot actually get reasonable amounts of taxes from the people. I will also put the maintenance of my units down because, again, we don't have the money to support it. Here we see the ducats, and currently we are at -4 ducats per month, but we get almost 76 ducats at the end of the year. There's a double tax system that you get money a month, which is always goes into your technology, into these sliders. So your government tech, production tech, trade tech, naval tech, land tech, and stability tech, and treasury if you have it. But so the more you gain per month, you actually are better at tacking up. But your yearly amount is just what goes straight into your treasury, and so through the year, what you get at the end of the year is what will pay for you for the whole year of not making a lot of money. And there are things that will actually give you more money per month. It's like if at one point you can start actually using your minting powers because you have a courtman or an idea that will give you less inflation each month, so you can counteract your own minting at that point. And here you see the income and the efficiency of how much of the maximum, how much of what you actually get from taxes you will retain. So, and same for production, we only retain 17% of it, and trade only 26%. These will all go up as long as the game progresses naturally, so there's no need to worry about this. And that again changes in EU4. Now here we are back at the war, the military tab. Basically, these are the units that we have. If you click here, you can choose a different unit, and these have, at the moment we can only build Latin medieval infantry or halberd infantry, and the difference is that one has offensive and defensive morale, while the other has twice the offensive but nothing in defensive morale. Same goes with knights, basically horses. There are shock values, and shock is one of the phases during a battle, but that's for when we actually get to a battle. And then you have the ships, which are automatically, you always build the newest type of ship, but you cannot upgrade your ships, while all your infantry, cavalry, and once you get them artillery, are always automatically upgraded to whichever you have standing here. It just takes a few months for them to recover morale. Then we have the religion tab, which basically you can do all things religions here, as well as look at rebels, rebel scum in your country, and try to beat their head in. So what we could do is pass the Advancement of True Religion Act, which basically means that you have a lot better time in converting your people back to Catholicism, which is our true faith at this point, because your missionaries are cheaper and you have a higher chance of your missionary succeeding, but it does cost you more risk of revolt every month. Now here is where the ideas come in and the sliders. These are basically your laws, sort of, and how your country is ruled in what way. This is the form of government. You can change it, but it's unlikely to do it early on. You want to have a good future form of government. And here is where you can add your ideas. And ideas basically are things that your country adopts as a whole as a thing to strive for, such as double the size of your navy, which is something you might get if you're playing England. But the navy game is not as interesting in EU3, but is expanded again in EU4. So we'll leave that mostly for then. Then we have the Leaders tab, where you can recruit generals and admirals and conquistadors and explorers. The first two are for your armies and your navies, and the second one are as well for your armies and your navies, but conquistadors and explorers are meant to go into the fog of war, into the terra incognita. They can basically discover new areas in the world, and conquistadors are obviously for armies on land, because, well, at one point you will discover the new world and maybe you want to colonize it, but you need to discover the land first. And you can also turn yourself into a leader of an army, but you have a heightened risk of dying, and without an heir ready to follow up, you are screwed. And here we see that we have one actual leader running around. It's Jean II of Le Maingre. Now, finally, we also have the culture tab, is where you get great men, and great men are the ones working in your court. You can do cultural decisions, such as commission a painting. It's basically a way of losing magistrates, because magistrates are used for either building a building or you get paintings from them. And the paintings will give you cultural tradition, and the higher your cultural tradition, the higher level of one of the great men you can actually hire. And final tab would be missions and decisions. There are some standard missions that most countries have, and some, like moving the court to Versailles, would be France specific, and this would be you can only do this when your government technology is at 32, which basically means it's when it was supposed to happen in reality around that time you can actually do this in this game as well. So there is a way to try and play a historically accurate game, but at one point it will just deviate immensely from that. And as you can see, here's also where our mission is of Annex Orléans. And Orléans, is it a vassal? It is a vassal, but we can still declare, well, we can really not declare war. And to demand annexation would also not work at this point because because they're not a vassal for long enough. Anyway, yeah, and up here we also have stability again. The higher your stability, the higher your tax income is, the morale of your armies, etc. Higher stability is always good. Then there is the infamy. You have an infamy limit. If you go above the infamy limit, everyone can just simply attack you at will. They get a casus belli, because unlike many other war games, you actually need a reason to go to war, a so-called casus belli. Now, again, when we look at Orléans, we could attack them without a casus belli, but it costs us 2 instability just to do this. But with the Reconquest casus belli, we actually we lose those -2, but because we are at such good relations and Orléans is our vassal, we cannot actually do this without dropping to -3 stability, which is the minimum of your stability. That goes from -3 to +3. Yeah, well, here's our legitimacy. It basically means the higher your legitimacy, the more your king, you are the legitimate ruler of the country. Now here you have merchants. Merchants you can send to centers of trade to try and earn more money there by sending trade your way, and centers of trade are in multiple provinces, such as in Ile-de-France or Paris basically. And if you look at the trade map mode, you see that every color represents a different center of trade. So the dark blue is Antwerp as its trading center. This color green is Ile-de-France or Paris. Castile trades through its own center, as does Portugal, and Aragon does it through Genoa. And here is Venice, and here is, I think that should be the Hansa. Yeah, I believe so. Lübeck, which is basically where the Hansa is located. It's that little city over here was a major trade hub in that period of time, right before the Renaissance. Now back to the political map mode. Then there is the colonists, which you can use to colonize, as well as change the culture of one of your own provinces more forcibly. And then there is the diplomats, which you need to make peace, to get some royal marriages with others, and these replenish quite fast. And then there are the missionaries to change people's religion. The map is quite sensitive and moving around. The spies to spy on others, and the magistrates to build buildings or make paintings, basically. But most of this is changing quite terribly in EU4, so no need to pay a lot of attention to it right now, at least in the way it works, but for this short let's play it will be important. Now, these flags represent important messages for you. One of them is we are allowed to change a slider, to adapt our country in a way that makes it different. And what we are going to do is put one into innovative. We're going to be more research focused, trying to tack up more, but every time you try and set a slider, one of 3 things will happen. One is usually good and the other 2 are bad, and it's just random chance. And in this case we have actually gotten lucky and we have received a level 6 naval tech reformer. So as soon as possible we are going to get rid of this missionary guy and get another level 6 a 6-star advisor in, but that one for naval tech. So that's actually pretty good. Now here's revolts possible. This will be here almost all the time. And that is simply because the culture group of Normandy and Co. is actually not cosmopolitan, which is what France, the culture of France is. We are cosmopolitan, yet Normandy and Co. are Norman, basically. And I unpaused the game accidentally, but that is actually okay at this point. Disputed succession will also almost always be there. Basically means that these are countries that basically do not have a ruler to follow them up. Or they actually do have a ruler, but that ruler has such low legitimacy that anyone could come in and say, hey, you should rule with me. Now we just sent a diplomat to Burgundy for a royal marriage. It increases our relationship, but it also gives us a small chance of, once his heir dies, for an heir from our family to step in. And in the best case scenario, after successive of these royal marriages, you can even get to a point where you inherit a country for free. And we're going to do the same thing with some other countries. But not every country can do that. Countries that are vassals to other countries cannot do this, such as Holland is quite, at this moment, a vassal of Hainaut, but we could do it to Hainaut. So we might as well do this. And you will want as many royal marriages in EU3 because it will boost the amount of legitimacy you gain every month. Now Austria is a powerhouse. We'll try to get a marriage with them as well. And to be fair, the Habsburgs always wanted to be in a good marriage relationship. They married all around Europe. They were quite the friendly people. And now we also got Savoy, and we'll do Bohemia as well, or at least try. Now, the Holy Roman they didn't want to do that, so that actually gave us a hit in our relationship as well. We were probably at 85, I believe, and we took a hit of 10, but when they accept, you will gain 25. Now, when we go to the Imperial map mode, we see that we are not part of the Empire at all, and we want to avoid, for now, going to war with any of these nations, because the Emperor has a free casus belli on anyone that attacks the Holy Roman Empire, and that is definitely not what we wanted to reach at this point. Now, you see the time, it goes per day, but it goes quite slow at this point in time. So we are going to speed it up for now, and I guess still I managed to spill some water in my keyboard last week, and a couple of buttons are still not working, sadly enough. So we are now at 3 speed. We can actually up this all the way to 5, but it goes extremely fast, and that's only if you have really nothing to do. And apparently Naples is offering us an alliance, so we might as well accept for now, and unless they call us to a war of their own, we won't have any effect on that. So usually as France, your first goals are to take over your own land, have it connected, as well as kicking England out of this. Now here's the infamous events that happen consistently in this game, and what makes it better. So our reputation has been tarnished, and some sort of propaganda text is circulating in the court about how Charles VI is a ruthless powermonger. This might impact our relations with other countries, so we could embrace the reputation or execute someone for this. Now, dropping down instability, that's this one, that's legitimacy. But dropping down instability is a lot worse than gaining 1 infamy while we have 0. So going up until the 33 limit is not at all important to anyone. It will get you a little bit of a hit in relations, but it's only as long as you have the actual infamy going on. Now, before we forget completely and he buggers off, we still wanted to hire this guy as our buddy. Now, do we have anything else that's more interesting than production tech? I don't think so. Yeah, we getting plus 0.04 inflation reduction at this point is not really worth it. So right now, the green bars indicate how far along the tech is going, and compared to the rest of the world, our tech is quite red. But it's because for some reason the Islam was more advanced at this point in time, around 1400, and Europe was behind in tech. But the Islam does research slower, so Europe will catch up quite fast. And that is actually one of the worst points in balance when it comes to EU3 is that these tiny nations could tech so freaking fast that they can be 2 or 3 levels ahead of your enemy. Yeah, they're at war with this area and they are quite winning. So instead of getting a hit on my prestige, I'll go to war, but I won't actually participate in the war, and I could actually just get some money out of it as well. And we've lost the casus belli to attack Epirus on our own. Oh, we have a decision available. What could we do? Promote cultural unity. And, okay, yes. This is a good decision to do, because if we go to Vermandois, that would be here, we see that this nation is considered by us as a core part of France, but also as Champagne as a core part of Champagne. So what we can do is actually say, hey guys, I want to promote cultural unity, which means that Champagne loses their core. Well, I shouldn't be losing mine either, so that was just a visual bug. I did not lose my core. It cost us this 2 magistrates, and this is a better way of spending those than actually getting to paintings instead. But some of these are, yeah, I think. Is there a difference? No. Oh well. Yeah, some countries you cannot remove the core, but I'm not sure how that works anymore. It's been a while since I actually played this. And as you can see, our infamy is slowly trickling down anyway. So losing that 1 stability would have been a lot worse. Now the most infamous of events in EU3, and they added it to EU4 as well, is that a comet has been sighted. And during this time it was basically superstition, and if they saw a comet, the world would panic. So you have 4 choices when you see a comet, and all 4 choices is losing 1 stability. And right now we are 1 month away from actually getting back up in stability to 3. And once we get, well, to 2 actually, but once we get to 3, that's the point where it's no use putting anything in stability. You can't even put anything more in stability, and you start automatically dividing everything amongst these 5. But what you usually want to try and do is actually focus on one instead to get that one up first, because it's either cheaper than the others or you want something specific. So once I am finished with stability, I will go into government tech, and you will see the idea, because an idea is incredibly interesting to have and powerful. And Naples is at peace, we have stability, and our tax percentage of efficiency has gone up by 10%. What's this? Okay. Apparently England likes us. Yeah, that's one of the decent differences between this one and 4 once it comes out. 4 starts about 45 years later, in the middle of the war between England and France, and that just works a lot better than what is happening right now. And the fact that we got an alliance with probably the biggest enemy of France throughout this entire time period. I mean, Germany is not united in the slightest, and they will only be united in the game that follows EU3 when it comes to the Paradox Grand Strategy games. Now, there's a lot of it's a lot. This game is a lot of just boring looking at the map, and so that's why you can speed it up. But the longer you go on, okay, you see these people get hired. Those are the guys I got at the beginning of the game, and now other countries like them to get them as well. Now, our money is actually increasing, and I heard a alliance offer from the Pope, but the time is going too fast, and there is a maximum time you are allowed to try and get that alliance out of the way. Now we are actually 1 month away from stability number 3, and you just saw everything pop up. And when you right click one of the sliders, it will lock it down, and with treasury you want to do that, because otherwise it would have pushed treasury up as well, and you started getting inflation, and that's not something I want. Now if we increase government to full, we'll actually research this in 2.5 years. And that's extremely fast to get there. And naval will be on its own. We'll probably not push anything into naval, because as France, you're much more focused on your own territory at first anyway. I mean, if you're England, you're an island. You want naval attack. If you're Castile, you also want it, because Castile and Portugal will be able to expand to the New World much sooner than France or England can. But the game can be weird in some ways, in that countries such as Venice or who have I had as well? I think I've also had Norway colonize Denmark at one point. I myself played a game as Bohemia where I got massively big. I basically was half the Holy Roman Empire on my own, and I started colonizing the New World as well. And I never lost control of the Holy Roman Empire after I gained it, which is a nice addition to the gameplay of an HRE country, but it really only works if you're one of the bigger ones, such as Brandenburg, Bohemia, Austria, Burgundy. And Burgundy and Bohemia are basically the two rivaling nations, and Austria is a sneaky bastard and just runs away with it. So, for EU3E, this will be... I will put up 2 more videos maybe of some interesting events showing how the war works maybe, but this was basically just an introduction to this type of game that in the coming month I will heavily start putting time into EU4. And as you can see, I think this is Austria. Which country is actually at war with Burgundy? Yeah, Austria is kicking the ass of Burgundy. And I will play a nation in EU4, and I would like to probably want to play, let's see, hang on. I probably want to play as Burgundy, because Burgundy has a very interesting idea for how it works, and basically it's sort of like a mix of Belgian and France values. And what do we have here? The bourgeoisie class has grown increasingly resentful of the power of the noble families, and particularly their lack of opportunity in the higher rank of government. Their only route into power is to marry into poor but well-titled noble families, or pry open positions in government circles, grant them privileges or deny them privileges. Basically, sometimes you get events that will actually change sliders for you. And as it stands now, our slider of autocracy is so far up that will just put autocracy to 5. The advantage of these events is that you don't get any of the negativity with it, but the downside is that some of them do go paired with a very negative event choice against it, and sometimes you just have to go in a direction of a slider, because not doing that choice will actually just really be bad for you. So we actually can at this point remove another core and remove in Namur in this case, but we could also enact a settlement policy, which basically means that we start forcing Co to become cosmopolitan instead of Norman. But for now I think it's good enough if we change Namur into cosmopolitan. So this so far is an introduction to EU3. We'll play a few more of these episodes very soon, so you can see more different stuff. Maybe I'll play a bit off camera so we can get to the more juicy parts and see how a nation can develop over time. Maybe we'll check out one of my other save games, such as the Behemoth of Bohemia. And yeah, it's it's a long game, that for sure, but you can actually play it at a pace that you like, and the constant ability to pause it makes it very accessible in a way as well. I mean, you're not constantly overwhelmed because you have to do things at maximum speed. And yeah, as France, you have a lot of opportunities. The bigger countries are usually a bit more fun to play as a beginner, but small countries are very fun to actually expand into obscene territory. And there are on the forums of Paradox Interactive, there are after action reports that people write, and there was someone who started as Tuscany and he basically conquered half of Europe and became the new Roman Empire. He had settled the new world as well, and it just turned out ridiculous. And that's a challenge for the more veteran players. Can you get a one state nation to dominance of the world of whatever goal you set? Because that's this game in a nutshell. You set your own goal of what you want to do and you follow it. And my goal is to get a fun let's play out for EU4 and maybe have you decide which general direction we have to go. Do we play as Burgundy and try and take over the world? Or do we play as Burgundy and start to become the biggest trader in the world? Or do we play as Portugal and try to beat Spain to the new world? Stuff like that. It's all possible in this game. And it tries to follow the historical line at times, but most of the times it just lets you do what you wish and please. So for now, that's going to be it for EU3. And like this video if you want to see more of it, definitely. And I don't know. Maybe I'll see you later.